Hey everyone, Bruno here. Normally May narrates these segments, but I specifically requested to read this one because I need closure after figuring out how it works. First, we load up the magazine by inserting rounds past the door at the bottom of the magazine tube, which is tensioned by one of many spring-loaded plungers in this rifle. Inserting the first round pushes the follower back until the rim of the cartridge clears a pair of rails machined on the inside, what I'm going to call the magazine carrier. The follower now shoves the first round all the way to the back, trapping its rim in a pair of feed lips cut into the back wall of the carrier. Loading our second cartridge sandwiches it between the nose of the first round and the follower. The same action is repeated 9 more times to fill up our magazine. Because the action is presently cocked, the breech cannot be opened. That is thanks to this L-shaped lever in the middle of the breech block. It is preventing the carrier from traveling rearward. This locking lever is tensioned by a spring-loaded plunger set inside the firing pin, which keeps the lock engaged when the gun is in battery. To feed the first round, we must manually lower the lever by using a button located at the back of the breech block. Let's get a better look at how that works. From this angle, we can see the button impacts a transfer bar. Pushing the button in with our thumb drives it into a ramp at the back of the transfer bar, driving the bar forwards. Like many parts in this gun, this transfer bar is performing a double function, allowing us to unlock the breech, but also dictating the movement of the ejector. We will see how that works later. The transfer bar then tips an extension off the left side of the action locking lever. This causes the lever to drop, freeing the carrier to travel rearward. The operator can now manually pull back on the pump action, which in turn drives the entire carrier and magazine assembly back and forth to cycle the action. Returning to the magazine, the feed is very interesting. The follower is compressing all the cartridges into a column with no wiggle room. In order to move a cartridge from the magazine assembly into the action, it is necessary to take the pressure off of the cartridge. The key is this T-shaped cartridge stop. Let's follow these 3 rounds to see how this works. These 2 rounds are resting in the back of the magazine carrier. Note that they are tipped, one down and one up. The third cartridge is constrained so that it does not tip. That is strangely critical to how the feed works. Now, cartridge number 1 is already past the cartridge stop. The rifle must allow number 2 past, but not number 3. As we pump the action open, the carrier moves rearward as a whole. Cartridge number 1 is fed into the breech. Because cartridge number 2 is tipped, its rim just clears the tapered leading edge of the cartridge stop. However, cartridge number 3 is level, so its rim impacts the cartridge stop, preventing it from feeding further into the action. As we pump back closed, cartridge number 3 remains static. As the carrier moves forward, eventually freeing number 3 into a larger area, previously occupied by number 2. This gives number 3 room to tip, and will therefore allow it to clear next time. This is the breech block, a complicatedly shaped singular part. Most importantly, it locks in battery, thanks to this lug at its top front, fitting in a matching recess in the receiver. Locking and unlocking of the bolt is accomplished with these 2 extensions off the lower front of the breech block. As the carrier is driven rearwards, a set of recesses on both of its sides impact and guide downward the extensions from the breech block. This drives the bolt downwards, unlocking the action. The bolt is now free to slide rearwards. Note that it is being supported by the side walls of the lower receiver assembly. Next, we move to the lifter, which elevates the round out of the magazine carrier and into the path of the bolt. Note that an extra lever, again with its own spring-loaded plunger, is attached to the lifter. This lever supports the rim of the cartridge during feeding, assuring proper alignment with the bolt. The motion of the lifter is dictated by this paddle-shaped dog. As we pump back, the rear of the lifter pushes the dog down and tensions it, which at the end of travel elevates the rim of the cartridge high enough to be picked up by the bolt face, which, interestingly, has a pair of wings with a guiding channel in order to control the rim of the cartridge during feeding. When pumping forward, the dog pushes on the middle of the lifter, further raising the cartridge up to the top of the bolt face. As we continue forwards, this tail hits the base of the dog, rotating the lifter back down and readying it for the next cartridge. Here is our trigger. It is powered by its own coil spring and plunger, which also provides tension for the crossbolt safety. This is the sear, a frankly massive arm which wraps under the bolt in order to snag the firing pin. This unique shape allows it to also retain the rear of the combination mainspring and firing pin spring. Wild. Pulling the trigger back pushes the tail end of the sear arm upwards, which lowers the front. This releases the firing pin, allowing it to spring forward and strike the primer. With the firing pin forward, this plunger is now pushing down on the front of the locking lever. This is what allows the gun to cycle without having to press the unlock button each time. These inclined surfaces are critical to Pedersen's improved extraction. During the initial unlocking of the bolt, the breech face is pushed rearward a short distance with plenty of torque. This provides more force for the initial extraction. The actual extractor is here, a simple L-shaped blade powered by, again, its own coil spring and plunger. The ejector is a simple rod attached to the transfer bar we saw earlier. As the breech block travels rearward, the transfer bar collides with the rear of the lower receiver while the bolt continues to travel. This causes the ejector to push the case from the breech face. Being a Pedersen design, obviously a lot more is happening at the same time, so let's set this up again, and with the breech block traveling rearward, the center rear projection of the magazine carrier pushes on the firing pin. This compresses it enough to clear the breech face. At the end of rearward travel, the breech block strikes the lower receiver, and the magazine carrier finishes compressing the firing pin to full cock. A safety improvement was added in the form of this rotating sear lock. It is powered by yet another spring-loaded plunger set into the breech block. Right now, it is disengaged, as the back of the locking lever is keeping it out of the way of the sear. When the gun is out of battery, the rear of the locking lever rises, freeing the safety to rotate into the sear. When the firing pin is fully cocked, the sear rises into its notch and the safety rotates under the sear, preventing it from falling prematurely. As we come back into battery and the locking lever resets, it reapplies pressure onto the sear safety, rotating it out of the way and permitting the sear to be dropped again. The manual safety is a typical crossbolt type located inside the trigger guard. Pushing it across to the right makes this longer section line up with the back of the trigger, leaving it no room to rotate, and thus preventing it from tripping the sear. Alright, I've done my very best to make this make sense, and hopefully we can all agree that John D. Pedersen was an extra-dimensional being.